I would like to take you back to the early life cycle of PlayStation 3 again, because there was a high-profile exclusive that was slated to come out before the console even turned 1 year old on the market, and that was Lair by Factor 5, a fantasy-driven, full Sixaxis motion-based game. And a young Ryan was very excited for this title, so much so that despite reviews and the reception, I thought the trailers looked great, and so I bought it day one, and I still have my original copy right here that I never got rid of, I never sold, and you'll know that I was all in on this game because I also bought the guidebook, which I also did not get rid of. The point is, I had to sit there and play the game for about 20 minutes, and then I had to tell myself, because this was a hard truth at the time, oh no, the game's not good. I put it down, never went back, until recently. I finally finished Lair, I cataloged my experience, here's what happened. I never thought I would actually be playing this again for real and trying to finish it. So let's see how this goes. And I am definitely going to be using the Sixaxis motion the way God intended. There is an analog stick patch that's installed, but we will play it how Factor 5 intended. And also at the time how Sony was pushing that. The game opens with sweeping vistas and an explanation of the world's growing fear, active volcanoes, which are slowly eroding the environment's natural resources. The people of these lands are starting to believe the volcanoes are a punishment from God. There's the Mokai, a group that live in the north who have harnessed the power of steam technology, and then there's the Assylians, a group that live in the south, close to environmentally rich resources. You play as Roan, a burner who is also a member of the Skyguard. Burners being those that can tame and ride dragons, and the Skyguard being the Assylians' air force. From here, there's a brief tutorial that gets you up to speed with the game's controls. Tilt the Sixaxis wireless controller to ascend. Down to descend. How long is it going to take really before I hate this? There we go. That only took like 5 times. During a speech from the Diviner, Assylia's religious leader, about how the Mokai are pagans and they're the ones responsible for everything, an attack from the Mokai begins. So Roan and the rest of the Skyguard set out to defend their land in this first mission.
Easy, girl.
The Mokai are attacking us from the sea. Bring your blades back tall.
This is also where you are introduced to the basic air combat Lair revolves around, where you learn to lock on and shoot fireballs at enemy naval ships or dragons, and get into one-on-one dogfights. Oh, the 180 thing just does not work, man. There's gotta be a way to, like, make it reliably happen every time. I feel like it's not a flick, I feel like it's a... Yeah, it's not a... It's like a straight... It's just like a straight up motion, which is incredibly unnatural. Are you an enemy? Yes, you are. Before proceeding, we should provide some context on how Lair shipped in such a questionable state, especially relating to its controls. Developer Factor 5 at the time was known for the successful Star Wars Rogue Squadron games in collaboration with LucasArts. They initially were working on a new one for the Xbox 360's launch, but when LucasArts saw a leadership change in 2003, they stopped funding the project. Factor 5's co-founder Julian Eggebrecht decided to pitch a new IP to Sony for the upcoming PlayStation 3 called Animal Wars, which was themed around George Orwell's Animal Farm. It would feature 2 factions of anthropomorphic animals waging war in a turn-based combat setting. This idea was greenlit by Sony Computer Entertainment's Shuhei Yoshida, and once Microsoft was unwilling to pay for the Star Wars project, Factor 5 decided to pitch another game to Sony under the condition that both projects were exclusive. This second game would become Lair. Initially called Dragon Knight, it was supposed to be an open world and have more of an anti-war story, as this was right after 9/11, but Sony proposed the game should be linear and altered some of the religious themes. At this point, when full production began, Lair turned into a $25 million full-scale project, and when speaking with Polygon, Factor 5's co-founder candidly says, and I quote, "Lair was a genuine fuck-up by everybody involved, probably me the worst." It was planned to be a PS3 launch title, and the biggest issue arose when Factor 5 threw out all of its old tools. Quote, "That, quite frankly, was the single biggest mistake throughout Lair's whole development. Not only did we have this completely new system to learn, but we also had no base technology. That was a fundamental, really bad mistake that we made, and Sony had absolutely nothing to do with that. It was our own stupidity." Though Sony did complicate matters when it became apparent the company was going to want Sixaxis support for the game. Throughout development, analog controls were used and favored by the team. They were always aware of its preference, and the patch was available and ready to be enabled on day one, but according to aabbeeccss, the company insisted Sixaxis was the way it should be played, as Lair became the marketing showcase for Sixaxis motion controls. During the rocky development, which led to the game's delay, Sony then canceled Animal Wars in an effort to control the increasing development costs, and by the time Lair came out, the team fully expected the poor reviews and tried to release the Analog Flight patch right away, but Sony insisted otherwise, going as far as sending out a press kit called the Lair Reviewer's Guide, which attempted to teach people how to play the game as is. Despite the game allegedly turning a profit, Factor 5 ultimately ran into issues securing a future when multiple pitches at different game studios fell through, and their last remaining deal fell apart when Brash Games closed due to their own financial misfortunes. Now, getting back to my playthrough, the Mokai began an attack on the Assylian supply of grain in an attempt to get food for themselves, and this level showcases the game's ambitious use of both ground and air combat. Kill the nearby troops. So this was kind of a cool part, right? So you could like fly down, land with that, and then use the sticks on the ground and you just mess up the troops. Like you bash them, and then occasionally, and I don't know what triggers it, but you get this slow-mo section when you're like mashing troops. And I'm not gonna front, I thought this was cool. This was like a pretty cool little thing you could do. But obviously that's kind of where it stopped for me. Look at this. This is pretty sweet. And it's not the worst looking game. It's almost like it's a character slider, and they just put everything into the dragons, and then everything else not so much. But I do like that little thing you can do with the slow-mo, bashing up troops, flying down from the sky. That was the only redeeming thing I liked back then. Eventually, the Mokai initiate a call for peace, so the Guardians of Vasilia let the Diviner know they'll be accepting, to which he agrees. On a bridge where the meeting for peace commences, Loden, one of your friends and adjacent member of the Skyguard, kills the leader of the Mokai, General Atakai, but also in the same motion kills an Asilia Guardian and the leader of the Skyguard, Captain Talon.
This is the Diviner's work, Roan. He will destroy us all. Get the Guardians to safety.
A battle commences on the bridge, and this is where I'm getting increasingly frustrated with the game's controls. I swear, half the things I'm doing, I'm not actually doing. I didn't even do that. That dragon, like, ran into me. It's a fucking 180, man. Oh! Get back on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Oh my. I am trying so hard, man. There's like one left. I'm actually fighting for my life. Where is this? Finally, I'm on the ground. Where is it? You gotta crack a few eggs if you want to make an omelet here. This is also where dark dragons are introduced. Up until this point, you can mostly use fireballs to kill anything while flying, but dark dragons require a one-on-one finisher, which is a simplified block and attack, rinse, repeat sequence you do until you win. Ooh. Got him. Is that another one? I'm learning the controls, and at the same time, I'm not. Oh, did I lose that interaction? Oh, my. Just as I say I'm learning it, I'm kind of not. This level also introduces rhinos, ground enemies that you're told to maul because your fireballs also don't work, though it is not made clear at all how to maul them. Whoop! Look, watch out. Excuse me. Oh. Well, how am I supposed to maul them if I... It lets you eat your troops. I can't target this rhino thing. Where's... What is... Oh my lord, what just happened? This, oh man, there are no words. How do you kill the rhinos? Oh, this is how you kill the rhinos. Well, Jesus Christ, it would have been great to hear how to do it. At the end of every level, you're also given a breakdown of how you did, with different medals awarded based on your performance. So you're saying I didn't get gold. Plenty of carnage. Wow. I was actually 6 seconds off from silver. So it is expected that this takes a while. Boy, I didn't really enjoy that level, did I? At this point, Loden becomes the leader of the Skyguard after having sabotaged the peace treaty. He's a devout follower of the Diviner, and a lot of the Assylian people are now in support of a war with the Mokai. Roan continues following orders for the time being, where he's now defending Assylian mantas, which leads to the game's first boss fight. Ooh. Okay. Kind of a weird way to cut that, but... I really don't want it to kill a manta. I like our mantas. Next, we see the Diviner has kept General Attakai's dragon as a prize, but when Loden was trying to tame it, it breaks free and flies away. Roan and Loden get into an argument, but not much happens here as Roan agrees to another mission that has him taking out the Mokai's power supply. What, am I going to a concert? I wasn't even trying to do this, but the game just latched me onto this. What? Then we move on to an assault on the Mokai's home directly, where you're tasked with simultaneously defending mantas and destroying the Mokai city with bombs from the mantas. This is the pivotal story arc where Loden and the Diviner's expected evil motives come into full swing. Straight up just bombing their city. 260, 253 buildings to go. Just blowing up everything.
Take out those people on the ground!
They're turning tail. We've won, Loden.
No, we haven't. They're heading to the armory. Destroy it.
No. You said this was an armory. But it's a temple. These people were running for their lives.
They're Mokai. They had it coming. It was the Diviner's order, Roan. No survivors.
Hey, not my dragon. Well, that's not very good. You know, if my dragon died, I'd be so mad.
Sleep well.
Oh, he died? Son of a bitch. A wounded roan starts walking across the desert when a familiar face makes an appearance. Is that the dragon we let loose? Is this gonna be my new dragon? It sure is. Roan takes control of General Attakai's dragon through the desert where he comes across a woman being attacked by a giant wasp. After another frustrating motion-controlled battle, you learn the woman is a Mokai named Ren. She takes you back to a Mokai encampment where they tend to your wounds. Up until Assylians make another attack, this time with dragons and a new ground enemy called war beasts. After this mission, Roan learns from Ren that the Mokai people are not at all what he thought they were.
The diviner says your people brought the volcanoes upon us.
The diviner is as foolish as he is powerful. Nothing we do will stop the volcanoes, but we can stop the diviner.
Ren tells Roan that General Attakai's son, Kobakai, is still alive and being held prisoner by the Assylians. So the next mission sees Roan on his own attacking the Assylian outpost defended by dragons, ships, ballistas, and ground troops. With the difficulty ramping up, so too were my frustrations. Oh my god. This is getting harder. Where's this ballista? They're saying ballista, but there's like 50 things on the ground. Like, what are you talking about? There's like actually 85 things going on screen at any given time. So what are you talking about? Did I just die? Oh my... This mission sucked. I really don't want to do this again. Once you finally make it to Kobakai, he's not exactly thrilled to see you, but you both leave and head off to find another Assylian assault on the defenseless Mokai camp. And this begins the worst level in the entire game because it's a continuous 15-minute battle with various fail conditions you are susceptible to. I was not having a good time. Alright, so I have officially swapped over to analog controls, and also I put the crosshairs on just to see if that would make any sort of meaningful difference. It's better, but like it's barely, you know. It's like even with analog controls, it's just I didn't even land. Like, the dragon, and, like, it has a mind of its own half the time if you have enough speed. Did, like, they spawn more ships or something? Like, what's going on? Yeah, I guess they did. Because I blew up all these before. I feel like I've killed a lot of stuff. Is this over yet? Like, how many more things do I gotta kill? I do have to kill the manta. Are you fucking kidding me? It's like you can't listen to the arrows, because the arrows are actually bullshit. The rhinos are like all the way over here, aren't they? What the actual fuck is going on? Oh, I died. That was me losing a life. Failed that one in like 5 minutes. Oh, these fucking controls. If I get hit with a fail condition, I'll be so mad. I lost. Take out the manta? I did take out the manta. Did you spawn another one? For a game that is purely based on flight, it's the worst feeling flying game I've ever played in my life. With Sixaxis and analog, nothing about it makes sense. Ever. Under any circumstance. Oh my god. Finally. That has got to be the end of the level. With that mission finally out of the way, the story pivots to reclaiming the Mokai's home, and it's another battle of ground troops, dragons, and ships. Now is probably a good time to highlight another glaring issue with the game, and that's the inherent sameness to every level and everything that you do, amplified by the control scheme that sees you doing the same thing, with very little understanding of how to do anything different. I encountered a few different styles of takedowns that I ultimately had no idea how I even pulled them off, and was never able to replicate them again. Never seen that one before either. Whoa, what am I doing? How do I do this? I have no idea how I triggered that. It's cool. Yet another example of how I feel like I'm never in control in this game. What am I doing? It's like the second time in like 3 hours I've seen this before. I don't know how to trigger that. Literally never seen this either. Never seen that animation. I guess that's cool, but that took way too much time for what is a defending mission. Once the Mokai land is reclaimed, a few Assylian Skyguard members come to explain that the remaining Guardian leaders were executed, ordered by the Diviner, and that any burners who opposed the Diviner were sent to the Maelstrom prison, so this takes us to a refreshingly new environment. At least this section looks cool. Certainly a nice change of pace from, you know, what most of the game has looked like thus far, which is same PS3 360 era game. Just a bunch of grays, blacks, browns, beige. Loden finally returns controlling a bull dragon, and we get to handle this the only way the game knows how. Is this him? It is him. How fitting that we have to do this again. With the burners freed from the Maelstrom prison, Assylians and Mokai unite together to take on the Diviner's remaining followers for the game's climax. So just go crazy now? 2,000 something troops to go? Alright, for this I think a bomb actually would make sense. So I'm going to go for the bombing. I also don't want to deal with the war beasts. Alright, there's a lot going on screen. This actually would be impressive and cool if anything else was better. The game also makes a convenient reminder that the real backdrop to the whole plotline was the active volcanoes, which are now happily popping off.
It's erupting.
The volcano.
The city will be destroyed.
If we don't divert the eruption soon, it will be too late! We can use bombs from our mantas! Drop them into those crevices!
Hour 1, we can use bombs from our mantas. Hour 2, you know, Roan, we could use bombs from our mantas. Hour 3.5. Roan, have you considered using a bomb from one of our mantas? After using the bombs from your mantas, the sights are now set on the Diviner, who is holed up in the palace. A well-placed bomb from your mantas does the trick. Well, there he is, the Diviner. They really used that there, huh?
Kobakai, you were right about the sunsets in Assylia. I'll get help. No. Stay. So much has been destroyed. It'll never be the same. Let's hope so.
Roan, your people are waiting.
Wow. That's it, huh? I'm happy that I finished it. So now that it's been a few days with the post-nut clarity, I can still say this game was bad, and I mean, it's something where I borderline hated it. It's really rough. And if you played it back then and you enjoyed it, then, you know, by all means, have your nostalgia. Don't let me take it away from you. But, you know, you have moments like these where even the dev team, which oftentimes team members are fully aware of the game that they're shipping, right? So, you know, acknowledging that this is not the kind of project they wanted to put out, a lot of problems left and right. And you can see what they were trying to do, right? In terms of the technical achievements, it looks quite pretty for a PlayStation 3 game. The dragons are fantastic looking. You've got these larger than life battles with all these troops on screen. And so there are angles of what they were trying to do, which ultimately all of it fell apart in a very big way. What I think I could say right here and now is that, yeah, I would agree with some of the former team members. Animal Wars sounded a lot cooler. I think I would have liked that versus Lair, but that's an alternate timeline we can't actually live right now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member, then there's going to be an extended cut available so you can see more clips from my playthrough without all the narration. And if you haven't just yet, please consider subscribing for the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates that are here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitter @MysticRyan, and that is it. I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.